Gon, the Little Fox. This is a story I heard from an old man named Mohei in my village when I was little. Once upon a time, there was a small castle near our village called Nakayama, and there was a lord named Nakayama-sama. In the mountain, a little away from Nakayama, there was a little fox named Gon Kitsune. Gon was a lonely little fox who lived in a hole in a forest full of fens. He would come down to the surrounding villages night and day and do nothing but play tricks. He would go into the fields and scatter potatoes, set fire to the rapeseed pods that had been left out in the fields, pluck off the dried bean cord that hung behind the peasant's house, and do all sorts of other things. It was a certain autumn. It'd been raining for 2 or 3 days, and Gon was crouched in his hole, unable to go outside. When the rain stopped, Gon was so relieved that he climbed out of the hole. The sky was clear, and the song of a titmouse was echoing in the air. Gon came down to the bank of the stream creek in the village. The ears of Japanese pampas grass were still glistening with drops of rain. The river was usually not full of water, but after 3 days of rain, the water has risen dramatically. The sooty pampas grass and bush clover along the river banks, which are not usually submerged in water, were lying on their sides and struggling in the yellowish water. Gon walked down the muddy path toward the lower part of the river. Gon saw a person in the river doing something. Gon quietly walked over to a deeper part of the glass so as not to be seen, and peeked through the glass. Gon thought, Hyoju! Hyoju was wearing a tattered black kimono and was dipping in the water up to his waist, shaking a net that he was so eager to use to catch fish. A round bush clover leaf was clinging to the side of his hachimaki-covered face, like a large black mole. After a while, Hyoju lifted the back end of the net, which looked like a bag, out of the water. It was filled with a jumble of grass roots, grass leaves, and rotten pieces of wood. But here and there were sparkling white bits. It was a berry of an eel and a large Japanese shilago. Hyoju threw the eel and shilago into the bag along with the rubbish. Then he tied the top of the bag again and put it back in the water. Hyoju then climbed out of the river with the net, left it on the bank, and ran upstream, seemingly looking for something. When Hyoju had disappeared, Gon jumped out of the grass and rushed over to the net side. He felt like playing a little prank. Grabbing the fish from the net, Gon worked hard and threw them into the river below where the net was. Each fish made a splashing sound as they dove into the murky water. Lastly, Gon tried to grab a thick eel, but it was so slippery that he couldn't get a grip on it with his hands. Gon grew impatient and stuck his head into the bucket and caught the eel's head in his mouth. The eel wrapped itself around Gon's neck with a squeal. At that moment, Hyoju yelled from the other side, "Oh, you chef!" Gon jumped up in surprise. He tried to throw the eel away and run away, but the eel was stuck around Gon's neck and wouldn't let go. Gon then jumped sideways and ran away as fast as he could. He looked back from under an elder tree near the cave, but Hyoju was not chasing him. Gon felt relieved, and after biting off the eel's head, he finally removed it and placed it on a blade of grass outside the hall. About 10 days later, Gon passed behind the house of a farmer named Yosuke, where Yosuke's wife was getting her hair done in the shade of a fig tree. Gon passed behind the house of blacksmith Shinbei, where Shinbei's wife was getting her hair done. Gon thought, something going on in the village. I wonder what it is. Maybe the autumn festival. But if it's a festival, there should be sounds of drummers and flutes. And first of all, there should be flags up at the shrine. As Gon was thinking like this, he came to Hyoju's house, which had a red well in front of it. A large number of people had gathered in the small, dilapidated house. Women in formal kimonos and with towels hanging from their waists were lighting a fire in the hearth outside. Something was boiling away in the big pot. Oh, it's a funeral, Gon thought. I wonder who from Hyoju's family has passed away. Afternoon, Gon went to the village cemetery and hid behind the 6 Jizo statues. It was fine weather, and in the distance the roof tiles of the castle shone. In the cemetery, red lanterns continued to bloom like strips of red cloth. Then, from the direction of the village, a bell rang. Clang! Clang! It was a signal for the funeral to depart. Soon, Gon began to see flickering sights of people in white kimonos approaching in a funeral procession. The sound of conversation grew closer. The funeral procession entered the cemetery. After they passed, red lanterns were being trampled down. Gon stretched out to see. Hyoju, wearing white kamishimo, was offering the memorial tablet. His face was usually as lively as a red sweet potato, but today it looked somewhat withered. Ah! It must be Hyoju's mother who has passed away. Thinking this, Gon put his head back. That night, in his hall, Gon thought a lot. Hyoju's mother must have been lying on the bed, saying she wanted to eat an eel. So Hyoju brought out the net. But I played a prank and caught an eel instead. So Hyoju couldn't give his mother the eel to eat. His mother must have died just like that. I wanna eat an eel. I bet she died thinking that. Hey, I shouldn't have played such a prank. Hyoju was threshing wheat by the red well. Until then, Hyoju had lived a poor life with his mother, but after she died, he was all alone. Hyoju is all alone, just like me. Gon thought as he watched from behind the storeroom. As Gon left the storeroom and headed toward the other side, he heard the voice of someone selling sardines somewhere. These sardines are cheap to buy. Lively sardines! Gon ran toward the sound of the lively voice. Then Yasuke's wife called out from the back door, "Give me some sardines." The sardine seller left his cart loaded with baskets of sardines by the side of the road, grabbed the shiny sardines with both hands, and carried them into Yasuke's house. At this moment, Gon grabbed 5 or 6 sardines from the basket and ran in the direction he had come from. He then threw the sardines into Hyoju's house through the back door and ran back toward the hall. On the way there, he looked back at the top of the slope and saw Hyoju still threshing wheat by the well. Gon felt that he had done one good thing to atone for the ill. The next day, Gon gathered a load of chestnuts in the mountain and went to Hyoju's house with them. Peeking in from the back door, Hyoju was half eaten at lunch and was holding his rice bowl, lost in thought. Strangely enough, he had a scratch on his cheek. While Gon was wondering what had happened, Hyoju started talking to himself. "I wonder who threw some sardines into my house. Because of that, the sardine shop owner thought I was a thief, and he gave me a tribute treatment," he muttered. Gon thought to himself, "This is awful. Poor Hyoju had been beaten up by the sardine shop owner, and had even been left with such wounds." Thinking this, Gon quietly went around to the storeroom and placed the chestnuts at the entrance before going back. The next day, and the day after that, Gon picked up some chestnuts and brought them to Hyoju's house. The day after that, Gon brought not only chestnuts, but also 2 or 3 matsutake mushrooms. It was a moonlit night. Gon went out to play. He passed under Nakayama-sama's castle and went a little way. He heard someone coming from the other side of the narrow road. He heard voices. The pine crickets were chirping. Chinchirorin, chinchirorin. Gon hid on the side of the road and stayed still. The voices gradually got closer. They were Hyoju and Kasuke, 2 farmers. "Oh, yeah, Kasuke," Hyoju said. "Huh? Something really strange has been happening to me lately." "What's going on?" "Ever since my mother passed away, I don't know who it is, but someone has been giving me chestnuts and matsutake mushrooms every day." "Who?" "I don't know who it is. Someone leaves them without me knowing." Gon followed them. "Really?" "Yes, it is. If you don't believe me, come and see my house tomorrow. I'll show you the chestnuts." "Wow, strange things happen." The 2 walked on in silence. Kasuke suddenly looked behind him. Gon flinched and stopped, shrinking from sight. Kasuke didn't notice Gon and just kept walking. When they reached the house of a farmer named Kichibei, the 2 went in. Gon could hear the sound of a mokugyo beeping. A light was shining through the paper screens in the window, and the big shaved head was moving in the light. Gon squatted by the well, thinking, "There is a prayer." After a while, about 3 more people entered Kichibei's house. Gon could hear the sound of sutras being recited. Gon squatted by the well until the end of the prayer. Hyojun and Kasuke returned home together. Gon followed them, wanted to hear what they had to say. Gon stepped on Hyojun's shadow head. When they reached the front of the castle, Kasuke spoke up. What you just said must have been the work of God. Huh? Hyoju looked at Kasuke in surprise. I've been thinking about it, and I think it's not by a human being. It's a God. God took pity on you being all alone, and so He's given you all kinds of things. Is that so? Yes. So you should thank God every day. Okay. Gon thought. Wow, these things are boring. I bring Hyoju chestnuts and matsutakes, but instead of thanking me, Hyoju thank God. I'm not worthy of it. The next day, Gon took chestnuts and went to Hyoju's house. Hyoju was making rope in the storeroom. So Gon sneaked in through the back door. At that moment, Hyoju suddenly looked up. A fox had just entered the house. That fox, Gon, who had stolen my ear the other day, has come to play tricks on me again. All right. Hyoju stood up, took his matchlock gun from the barn, and loaded it with gunpowder. Then, sneaking over to Gon as he was leaving through the doorway, Hyoju fired a shot. Dong! Gon fell to the ground. Hyoju came running over, looking inside the house. Hyoju noticed chestnuts stacked up on the dirt floor. Hyoju said, looking down at Gon in surprise. Gon, were you the one who always gave me chestnuts? Gon nodded, with his eyes completely closed. Hyoju dropped his matchlock gun with a clunk. A thin trickle of blue smoke was still coming out of the muzzle.